Solo camera hai. That is your camera. You can look at me and the camera if you want to say something to the trade, and you can look at me as well.
Look at you. Yeah.
Are you sure camera is on? So are we rolling? Good afternoon, Geetanjali Master. It is so good to chat with you.
Thank you.
How have you been?
Very well, and you?
I'm doing well. God has been kind. It's a great day. It's good indoors, good air, good temperature. Everything is so nice. So how long have you been associated with the IAA Voice of Change as UNICEF?
So UNICEF actually has been a inception partner with the International Advertising Association Voice of Change campaign. We co-created this back in 2022.
Okay.
And this was based on an evidence piece of work that UNICEF had done with the Gina Davis Institute of Media and Gender with the International Advertising Association India chapter. And that's how long we've been associated with it.
Very good. How is it going? Do you see any change over the last so many years that you've been part of this?
So
do you see it making an impact? And I'll tell you where I come from, right? So since I used to be with big corporates, now I'm an entrepreneur. But ideas and thoughts really don't matter unless they translate into some action and some change on ground. Do you see something actually happening?
Yeah. So concretely, I would like to share two things. And you're absolutely right. I think as UNICEF, we are very, very centered around evidence, right? And what is the evidence saying? Because that's what defines if change is actually happening, right?
Yeah.
Anecdotally, of course, we see things happen, but is it really translating? And so we had a baseline back in 2021. We are about to initiate a midline, which will show us if the needle is moved. But without the midline as well, or I could say that, there were many things that have happened around Voice of Change that have actually shown us that the needle is slowly moving. And why would I say that? We also had the gender guidelines launched by ASCI and the Ministry of Women and Child by Mrs. Irani herself. And that really told us that, there is that initiative towards bringing change, and how can we equip and how can we work closely with the advertising and media partners to see that, they want to create content which is more meaningful and gender friendly.
Yes.
So I think we've seen a number of little milestones in the Voice of Change journey, which have shown us that change is of course happening. The midline will be a concrete piece to tell us if it really has.
Absolutely, Geetanjali. Yeah. Geetanjali, how do we work together to take it to the next level, make it bigger, right? You have views on that? And would UNICEF be willing to support that?
So bigger and deeper, right? And I think
that's my next question on deeper, and we'll come to that.
Yes. So bigger for sure. I think we have to continue this work, right? I think the advertising and media fraternity are doing a lot, right? They're doing a huge amount on their own to create content which is which is less stereotypical. Things are moving, and it's very exciting to see that content being created. But amidst all of that, there is also the realization that we can't stop, right? We need to continue this work. UNICEF is, very, very proud, and we're happy to be the knowledge partners of IAA Voice of Change for this, and our continued support remains.
Yes. No, we look forward to a lot more support from UNICEF at the IAA. So moving to the next part, taking it deeper. Right now you see these events, and for a better term, besides fancy events in tier 1 cities, do you see the need to go deeper down into smaller parts of India where the Voice of Change can really do much more difference than
Certainly. See, UNICEF's work, we work across 16 states in India, and we really work at the grassroots with our partners. And in many years of work that I have done with UNICEF, I have seen, and with our entire teams, we've seen that the change has to happen across, right? And in many areas which are difficult to reach, which are many times struggling with the right information from media and others, there I think it's critical to talk to smaller content creators, to talk to local content creators who can make such a big difference, right? They're influencers. And I think those local language content creators can be very instrumental, I would say, in influencing people.
Yes, that's so true. I think, you're right. The challenge lies more on loosely the rural side or the smaller towns. Could sound a little hypothetical, and I don't know if you're the best person to answer this, but do give me a view. Indian laws, there are a lot of laws for crime against women. And I'm not a law practitioner, so excuse me for the not using the right jargons, but to a great extent, many of those laws, and rightly so, hold a man guilty till proved innocent in the case of a domestic violence. And I said rightly so in a great extent because that's majorly the truth when you go down to deeper parts of India. But at the same time, we also see a lot of that laws getting misused or abused by a select few in relatively bigger towns. Do you think that calls for differential laws in metros versus rural India? So I said it's a hypothetical question, but do you see a need for some kind of a different kind of a treatment?
You know, honestly, you're right. I'm not the best person to answer this one, but I definitely would like to share that, you know, the laws can exist, right? It's about implementation of those laws. And therefore, that depends on a lot on how people, women and men, have been empowered and educated at the right stage of their lives. When opinions around things related to equal rights, violence, and others are being developed, opinions are being developed, that's when they need the right enabling environment. And I think that is very related to how they then will interpret laws and how they then will actually adhere to laws. It doesn't happen overnight, you know, laws are there, but for how people can interpret them happens over a period of time. And that journey is where I think UNICEF wants to or has been intervening.
Yes, yes. Lovely, fantastic. So moving on, digressing a little towards more on UNICEF's mission and objectives.
Yes.
How do partnerships between public and the private sectors help further cause, further UNICEF's cause? What's your view on that?
So I think for UNICEF, the clear piece that we've understood and you know is the importance of the private sector, right? And as well as the public sector. So I think it's really about creating an ecosystem. At UNICEF, we believe what's critical is you don't work in isolation with one type of partner, right? We can't just work with one partner. Nobody can just work with the UN. I think the UN, the countries, very, very rich civil society, academia, private sector, public sector have to come together and address solutions together. And I think, you know, I'm sorry to digress back to IAA, but I really think the Voice of Change has been one such entity. We have been able to engage people from different walks of life coming together. And I think that is vital because everybody brings with them certain skills and certain expertise that the others don't have. So.
Fantastic. I think you said it so rightly. It's about different skill sets coming together. Fantastic chatting with you, Geetanjali Master.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. And thank you to Roshni and the lights extended by Republic. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.